Hello, everyone. I'm Jordan Masmanian, and the stock that I'm going to analyze today is Pepsi stock. So, looking at the first index is the CCI, which stands for the Commodity Channel Index. So, in order for a stock to be considered overbought, it has to be above this top red line, which is over 100. And for it to be oversold, it has to be below this bottom red line, which is negative 100. And currently, if we look, it's at 125, so it is slightly overbought right now. So if we look more closely at the chart, we can see right here that it is overbought a bit. And if we look at the chart, we can see that there's quite a bit of an increase. And then we can see it go down a little bit. And so if we look at the index, you can see that there are two dips right here, which show that it was indeed oversold. And then if we go a little bit more, it goes back up and it was overbought here and here. And if we look at the chart in both spots, it did increase there in those two places as well. And then if we fast forward all the way to this spot, it drastically becomes overbought and we can see it just shoot up on the chart right here. Moving on to our next index, which is the RSI, which also stands for the Relative Strength Index. And so, in order for a stock to be considered overbought, it has to be above this yellow line, which is at the 70 mark, and then below um, this bottom red yellow line, which is 30, that is when it's considered oversold. So if we look here, it becomes a little bit oversold right here. And if we look at the chart, that's where this dip happened. And then if we look again over here, it is also oversold a little bit, and that is when this dip happened on the chart. And then if we go all the way over here, it is just slightly overbought, and that is when this big shoot up happened on the chart. And the last index that we will look at is the money flow index, or the MFI. And in order for it to be overbought, it has to be above this yellow line, which is 80. And in order for it to be oversold, it has to be below this bottom yellow line, which is 20. And if we can see here, there is a little bit of a time period where it was oversold by a little bit. And if we look at the chart, that is when this big decrease happened. And then if we can look here and here, it is really slightly overbought, but just by a little bit. And if we look at the chart, that is when it increased in both spots. So comparing the charts, pretty much in all three indices, um, they were overbought and oversold at the same time within all three of the indices. So that is by looking at those charts. And then lastly, what I would do if I had the stock, if I owned the stock, it would, I would probably keep the stock and not do anything. But if I didn't own the stock, I would probably do nothing as well, because if we look at the three indices, um, the CCI is overbought just by a little bit, and then the two other indices, the RSI and the MFI, they were in the middle, so neither overbought nor oversold. So my decision would be ambivalent. So yeah, that's what I would do. Thank you.